welcome to another episode of Underwater, presented by The Pond. I have probably one of the biggest ETH Maxis that I personally know joining me for this episode today. You may or may not know him. This is Coldplunge. Coldplunge, welcome to the show.
Thank you for that introduction. Thanks for having me. And yes, I do like Ether and Ethereum. Big fan.
Yeah, big fan. Good coin. Good coin.
Yep. Good coin, good blockchain, good future.
Yeah. So I guess for the folks out there that may not know who you are, give us what's the elevator pitch? What's the quick spiel for Mr. Cold?
Gosh, it's been a little while since I've been out of sales now, but if I had to spiel myself, I guess most of what I do now is related to Echelon, which you of course are familiar with as EP over at Echelon, and that's what I dedicate most of my resources to these days is working on that and building out the Prime ecosystem and all the stuff that goes on over there. Other than that, I enjoy swimming in the ocean. I just recently moved to a place close to a beach, and I like eating broccoli for breakfast. And I like taking cold plunges, although I don't have a good setup going where I live currently. So that part of my life has been lacking a bit since I moved.
How's your ice machine? Do you fill a bowl up with enough ice from the old freezer?
A bowl?
Yeah, just dump it in the tub. Or do you need more ice than that?
That could work.
Maybe you could buy
bags of ice. You need a little more ice than that.
All right, go to the bodega and get like 10 bags of ice. Just dump it.
Oh, I mean, dude, when I do it for real, I'll go and get like actually I posted a pic on my Instagram not Instagram, my Twitter at xcoldplunge a week ago. And that was like 190 pounds of ice. I think it was like 30 bags. So that's
Jesus.
Like a normal amount. Because if you really, especially if the water is cold, you don't need as much. But if the water is kind of warm, you need a lot to get it down to temp. So
yeah, I guess that's
an expensive lifestyle.
Yeah, you're telling me, man. I did see a great tweet the other day, which was, I think someone tagged you in it, but yeah, it's like, we've spent the last 30,000 years of human existence trying to take hot showers, and now everyone wants to take a fucking cold shower. And
yeah, grass is always greener.
Drink this out. Are you drinking that athletic green shit? Are you doing the whole? Who's the guy whose lifestyle is this?
No, I'm not into the AG1, I believe is what it's called now. But,
yeah, isn't there something else? It's like a trifecta of things. It's cold showers, it's AG1, and it's like some other fucking bullshit.
Maybe Bitcoin. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, I don't know, man. Just like don't eat McDonald's every day and like exercise.
Oh yeah, the seed oil thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I found out from Cold that I'm totally fucked because I use grapeseed oil. I mean, you did make a good point, which is, I mean, like 10,000 years ago, there was no way to get oil from grape seeds.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you can thank the Industrial Revolution for all that stuff.
Yeah, but I'll let you know. First to know, this is an underwater exclusive. I'm gonna cut over to avocado oil for my sort of neutral oil.
It's good for frying. It gets really hot.
Yeah,
smoke point's high. So
totally. I mean, that's why I can't use olive oil for frying. It's like the smoke point's too low.
Yep. Amen. Another convert.
There you go. Come for the crypto chat. Stay for the oil evaluation.
You're assuming people haven't already clicked off, but
that is true. That is true. As I said on the first episode, I'll say it again. Everybody, all two listeners, if this sucks, tell me, and I will try to make it suck less. But I can only try. No promises. It will suck less. Yeah, I guess that out of the way. Dude, I guess pretty big moments. Kamikaze ETH in the mud. We have not immediately hit the Ether death spiral thanks to the Shanghai unlock. We've actually pumped up. I think we retraced below 2K again, but we did crack 2K on ETH there for a while. I assume this makes you happy.
Yes, I love to see it. In the last couple of years, I've really become numb to the price stuff. I mean, I've watched my net worth on paper fluctuate by like 80%. Sometimes like, 30 or 40% in a day. And um, yeah, honestly, at this point, I'm so numb to it that it doesn't really affect me that much. I do like to see it, but I also don't want to trust any of the moves because you really never know. And so it's good, but don't want to count the old chickens, I suppose, until ETH is the global reserve currency or whatever. So we'll
Yeah,
just stay the course until that
I mean,
happens.
I am also pretty bullish on Ethereum long term. Not as a reserve currency, but as kind of
I that's
like
a joke. I don't
yeah.
think that'll actually happen.
But I
But
think like
yeah,
as a global settlement layer, um, it feels like it's has the best shot of all the blockchains. But my sort of like lukewarm take on the Shanghai merge is yeah, there's like probably going to be some downward price pressure because some amount of validators are going to fully exit or partially like people are going to take some profits. But I was looking, I think it was up to like 15K exit, so it's like 3% of validators or something. And it's like, that feels kind of natural and normal. But there's also, it's like, do you really stake this shit for like years only to like immediately dump it at these levels?
right, exactly. Yeah,
Um,
I think the answer is no.
yeah, like I think there will be some healthy profit taking, but like that's good.
Hmm.
People should sort of like de-risk themselves a bit, especially when you've been locked for this long. But if there was a huge demand to get out, I think someone else tweeted this. I thought it was a pretty smart take. We'd probably see a bigger discount in the sort of liquid staking derivatives than we did see. Like I don't think there was much of a depeg of like Steth, for example.
Right. Yeah, I mean the worst DPEG we got was, I don't know, was it like almost a year ago now, or
It could have been was it the
uh,
FTX shit?
it was, no, it was before FTX. I want to say it was the Three Arrows
Yeah, it could have been.
situation because they had a lot of staked ETH, and I remember it got down to like uh, in terms of staked ETH over ETH, it was like point, or no, other way around. But it got down to like 0.93 or something like that. And I imagine that's about the worst it gets because you saw people coming in and bidding that up because they were confident that uh, this upgrade would come and it would go smoothly like all the other previous Ethereum upgrades.
Yeah,
So
I mean it's
yeah, I
hard.
mean ETH stays shipping. It's pretty cool to see.
That's true. They do ship over there, the Ethereum Foundation. Yeah, it might have been Three Arrows. I mean, it's really hard to keep track of every Black Swan we've had in the last 12 months. I think what are we on 18 or 19 now? Just
I don't know,
every
man.
couple weeks,
Those are the
it's
ones we know
fucking
about.
something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
but on in terms of like what ETH will do, I mean, like I said, I've found out that I tend to be wrong about the future predictions, as most people do. But it is interesting how a lot of times the fundamental stuff doesn't really match up with the charts, and we saw that on ETH BTC at the merge, right? Because all of a sudden, I mean, you can just go to ultrasound.money or insert other website that tracks this stuff. And it's wild how the slope of the emissions chart dramatically changed, ETH versus Bitcoin, right? It's completely flat, actually negative now. The Ethereum supply chart is, and Bitcoin's just chugging along, uh, pumping out new coins. And after that day, there was a big correction for a few weeks or a few months, I think. And I mean, generally, we've kind of been in a bit of a downtrend since then on ETH BTC. So it's interesting how the fundamentals don't always match up to the charts, or at least it takes some time for them to be factored in.
yeah, I mean, even like the business case fundamentals as well. Right? Like you know, it's like, are people like Ethereum is still, it's still a tool for speculation, I think, largely. Like, yes, some people need it to pay network fees and everything, but when you think about, okay, if blockchains truly are this revolutionary technology that we clearly think it is, and they do change the way that people transact and interact on the internet, then, you know, the explosion of Ethereum layer twos, and sort of like other protocols and tooling that drives value to the main network as a settlement layer. I mean, I think that like the possibilities or like the fundamentals of the technology are massive, but I don't think that people trade based on that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not. At least not in the shorter time frames. But yeah, I think one. I'm always talking, not always, actually a lot less now than I used to. But during during the last bull run, I was always trying to get my dad to just put 1% of his cash into Bitcoin or ETH. Bitcoin at first, and then later ETH as I became a convert. And I still every once in a while, he's looking at his portfolio. Oh, what do you think I should do? And it's like 70% index funds, or whatever. I'm like, Dad, just please get to 5% on ETH. And he can't do it. And a big reason is because um, there's no reason for him to believe that Ethereum will win out over the other projects. And I think for a lot of the people standing on the outside looking in, there's a million different coins. Ethereum is just one of them, and they're like, oh well, why can't some new thing come along and take over market share? And so that prevents the conviction from taking a bet like that, especially if you're tend to be lower, have more of an aversion to risk. But for me, and I guess just kind of the intuition that I built up over the years is like, it's just so obvious to me that no matter what happens, other coins that are launched, Ethereum has proven itself to be adaptable and on a trajectory that I think is unlike any other project that exists. And to me, it's obvious, and maybe I'll end up being wrong, but in my mind, it's obvious that 10 years from now, ETH is still going to be around and it's still going to be winning. So,
Yeah, because I think it's
yeah.
like the layer twos drive value to the main network, right? Because eventually things have to be settled on Ethereum. And if you take a look at, like, okay, Polygon was one of the biggest side chains out there, and they're just converting to being a like full Ethereum layer two, right? Like Coinbase, for example, when they launched Base, they're betting on Ethereum effectively. I know it's like,
Hmm.
and so I wonder if people's mental models haven't shifted enough to sort of be like, okay, actually, increased network usage on layer twos is very bullish for Ethereum because they all ultimately drive value back to Ethereum.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's starting to become more tangible now
Yeah,
because, like a lot of things, they start in theory, and you have the Twitter warriors and people on forums and stuff saying, "Oh, but just wait." I mean, that was a big part of the reason why Chainlink did so well, right? It was all this
dude, the
narrative,
link variants,
and
baby, pray for them.
yeah, and
Where
the
where are they
narrative is
now?
incredible, right? I mean, you probably saw that the meme where it was like, uh, what was oh, it was the what's the trifecta problem, or what's it called? Like you needed the dude, what am I? It was like Bitcoin solved the first problem, which was you needed money, and then Ethereum solved the like app layer or something, and then Chainlink was like the third thing you needed, which was to get information on and off um, of blockchains in a trustless way, something like that. I probably butchered it, but that meme was so powerful that it allowed Link, without having much real utility yet, to just absolutely moon in the middle of a bear market. And yeah, so the narrative is important, but and eventually the tech catches up to it. And I think we're starting to see that with Link now, and in terms of the L2s for ETH, uh, they're actually real and starting to gain adoption. I mean, parallel and actually, I don't know how much we can say about
Well, I think
parallel and how it relates to L2s,
well, I think like,
but
Parallel
yeah,
has already said that the Prime token, emissions for game wins will be emitted to Coinbase's base network. And so,
Exactly.
and it's like, I mean, not just them, but think about the nut, like, I remember, we were talking to Meta. I mean, we had Meta on last week to chat about GDC, and you and I have chatted to him as well. It's like, Polygon Studios, for example, had a massive fucking presence at GDC, and so like that's they're working with games like Shrapnel and kind of like other developers. I want to say that Dead Drop, the Doctor Disrespect game, is being built for Polygon, and so these are big games that also are being built towards leveraging L2's. Wildcard is another one that's doing their mints on Polygon, and I imagine that they will like do some game interactions on Polygon too. And like if you think about game, like okay, we both think that gaming is going to be the Trojan horse that takes crypto mainstream. If that's the thing that onboards a ton of users and it's onboarding them onto largely Ethereum layer twos, then that's just a fuckload of value that's ultimately being driven to the settlement layer.
Absolutely. I'm surprised. I was thinking we would get maybe into a little bit of a debate, and you'd be telling me ETH bad, and I'd be saying ETH good. But it sounds like we're preaching to the choir here.
No, no, no,
So,
no, no. I mean,
yeah.
I've been, I've said before. I mean, I used Bitcoin to buy drugs way back in the day, and I never really, believed in the Bitcoin narrative. I mean, I think I believe in it a bit more now. It's lindy enough that this digital gold thing, I think I get. I just find it really boring. Whereas,
Hmm.
given my background as a like software engineer, Ethereum was much more exciting and much more interesting. And so it's a
Hmm.
technology that I've always believed in. Though I think personally, I don't need to hold the token for anything other than speculation. Like, I hope that years from now, I won't actually be transacting on ETH-L1. Like, I don't want
Oh,
to pay that
totally. Yeah.
fucking
No.
gas.
And I don't think we will be, except for I think there might be some premium art and stuff like that that exists on L1,
Yeah,
and that's it'll just be for that extremely premium stuff. Not to say that there won't be high quality stuff on L2, and who knows, people are starting to throw around L3s. I don't really know how that would work, but I've heard the term.
yeah. Well,
So
so
yeah.
I guess to give you a bit of an idea, like I guess I imagine L3s as maybe sort of like app specific. So it's maybe the app chain thesis, but just with an extra scaling layer. And what what I think about a lot is that, if you look at like the OSI model for networking, um, and for those that aren't familiar, there is something called an OSI model, and it essentially lays out the networking stack and all these different layers that exist for like a website to communicate with a server, for a client to communicate with a server. And there's an application layer, there's, different networking protocols, there's the actual like infrastructure, like hardware, like the fucking hard lines and shit. But as an end user, you're really only ever interacting with the application layer. And
Right.
I think that in time, there will be some sort of similar, acronym to model for blockchain infrastructure,
Yeah,
where
I mean, in a lot of ways, it is actually the meme of world computer is kind of becoming a reality. Where how like with computers, there's a lot of different layers of abstraction that just get built on top of the processing, and we're seeing that happen on Ethereum too, right?
yeah,
And so in a lot of ways, it is turning out to be a world computer, more than maybe meme disbelievers would have thought. Uh, but I think maybe one area where we disagree, because you just said that for you, ETH is more of a speculative bet, and that's the reason you hold it, is just to speculate. For me, it just feels like the absolute safest place I can have my money over a 5 to 10 year time horizon. And for me, it's not at all speculative, because I'm not looking to trade a pump, or I might maybe if there's another big cycle, I might learn to diversify a bit in a mania. But for me, like, it's not, I'm not in ether to speculate. I'm just in it because there is no second best asset in my view, in terms of balancing the potential upside versus the risk. And I just think, especially entering this crazy new era we're getting into with AI, and maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I can't. There's too many variables in the world for me to think I'm smart enough to park it anywhere else, and so that's where I sleep. I sleep well at night, knowing that most of my wealth is stored on chain
Yeah.
Ethereum.
I guess when I say speculative, I mean I own Ether because I think that it is one of the best growth assets over a 10-year time horizon. And but like at the end of the day, I still, like I live in a real world in a real city where I, want to buy real property and stuff like that. And so, I'm not holding Ether just to hold it forever. I'm holding it to, outpace kind of other investments so that I can better my life in specific ways. Like to me,
Yeah,
ETH is the ultimate crypto ETF. Like you're betting on the most robust,
definitely.
most Lindy ecosystem. And over 10 years, yeah, like if you're really smart or really lucky, you can probably find the next like 100x shitcoin and like outpace Ethereum. But if you just
But like we see
wanna,
with index funds, the index fund's a great comparison, right?
yeah,
Because the only like 3 or 4% of investors outperform the index
totally.
in the long run in traditional markets. But yeah, I think that is maybe a difference though, because you're like, I want this so I can get the house. For me, it's I want this so I can stack the validators, and that to me, I'd rather have insert X number of validators than uh, a house and just kind of rent where I live, and not acquire that many physical things that I either need to take care of or move around with me. I like to kind of be mobile and just, yeah. To me, that's the goal. And obviously, sometimes there are things that you want in the real world, and fortunately, ETH is really liquid and it's easy to do that, especially now with the Shanghai upgrade, and you can stake and also be able to pull it out as needed. Um, but yeah, that's more of the long term goal for me.
Nice. I respect that. You mentioned AI. Are you giga bullish on Crypto GPT and their $250 million raise?
Tell me about that, because
What are we doing?
I saw a picture, but I don't really
I
know
mean, I'm
what it
assuming
is.
it's just 100% a scam because, like, you know, like traditional venture capitalists raised too much money and you need to allocate it somewhere before you can start collecting your 2% management fee. But like, yeah, I saw that and I was just like, I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's the two buzzwords you didn't know you needed in a pitch deck. And it just like immediately got funded.
That's so funny when you put it like that. That it's just the two most powerful buzzwords you could possibly put together.
Dude, it's crypto AI, baby. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm pr- I'm
I
I'm
do
pretty
think
fucking
that.
terrified of AI, man.
Yeah, I do think that, and this is something you and me were talking a little bit offline, but I had a little bit of a political interest arc, I guess, around the time that Andrew Yang was coming up, and I imagine that that's actually
I imagine a lot of
somewhat
crypto
common.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I think that's probably a common thread among a lot of crypto people. And I remember reading his book, and the premise of the book essentially is that AI is coming for everybody's job. And because of that, we need universal basic income. And at the time, I thought, it's a cool idea. And since then, we have seen a lot of this stuff happen, like with fast food restaurants moving to ordering terminals instead of having people there. And one of his biggest premises of the book was truck drivers and those getting taken over by self driving cars. We haven't really seen that yet,
Yeah. There's actually a
but
really
yeah,
good report. I think it was Berkeley's Haas School of Business a couple years ago. A bunch of pretty well-regarded economists there wrote an interesting sort of like light paper on the potential future of trucking as it relates to automation. Definitely recommend people seek that out. But I think like where they landed, and I think this makes a lot of sense over certain geographies, over others, maybe it won't. But I think where they landed was, in all likelihood, what you'll get is um, automated trucking between distribution centers or between big cities, and then truckers sort of like bidding to do, the sort of like second leg before last mile. Um,
Right.
and
I
but
think that
like
that's
that will drive wages down because like trucking is actually, most people in trucking are actually like small business owners. They own the rig and they contract with companies, and it's a pretty well paying job for people like that doesn't require a formal education. And so yeah, like there is a huge. I think it's also the number one form of employment in over 30 states. So yeah, there be dragons.
I mean, I think that we're going to see that same concept of the bulk of the work getting done by AI and the last mile being done by humans will apply to a lot of industries. I mean, if you go into mid journey, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Mid
I
journey?
love Midjourney. We
Yeah,
use
and you
Midjourney.
make, like, let's say you're making a logo for your company, right? It gets you 90% of the way there, but it'll be a little weird or a little bit, the font's a little weird on one of the letters, and so you still for now need a human for the last mile to kind of bring it home. I think that's true for writing as well. It'll be like, oh, okay, this spit out a great start, but let me tweak it a little bit to put it into my own words. And so I think that what we're going to arrive at now is kind of the march of nines of AI getting closer and closer to doing the whole job, but it will take a while until, and it might take forever until humans are completely out of the equation. But the bulk of the job, we're already at a place where a lot of jobs, the majority of it can be done by AI. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely going to shake up the employment market in a
the
big way.
the Midjourney example is really interesting. I was listening to a gaming podcast. I think it might have been the Future of Gaming podcast. They do a lot of Web3 gaming related content, and they had a game developer on there that was saying that they actually use Midjourney for storyboarding, and it doesn't mean that they get rid of the artists, but it allows them to get like 70% of the way there on storyboarding and concept design, and then like the artist can sort of refine it from there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
wild. And
I mean,
but
it's
I guess
scary
that brings into
times.
question, like, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, it's scary times. Like, I don't think we're gonna all
Yeah.
turn into paper clips, like Eliza says, but I do think that like Western civilization is not prepared for what could be an incredibly rapid destruction of white collar jobs.
Yeah, I think though that there have been a lot of events in history where new technology has threatened an existing group of jobs, and everything's kind of always turned out to be okay for the most part. And you can argue this time is different because we're approaching a technology revolution where the tech is actually smarter than humans in a lot of ways. So it is different. But you and me are working in an industry right now that is poised to create an entirely new type of job, which we got a taste of in the last bull run with Axie. But I think instead of, and coming back to Andrew Yang, right, like his premise was, look, there's going to be a few companies that accrue all of the value, and we just need to redistribute that back to the people because there's no longer a meaningful way for 90% of people to contribute. But I think maybe a new reality is that that's still the case, right? Companies are accruing a lot of the value, but instead of just getting the money because you can play a game like Parallel and and earn a certain amount of money, or you can play a different game. Uh, there's a lot of companies and protocols that are trying to break onto the scene from like the gameplay economy and like play to earn and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I just
I think that that's one example of a way where an entirely new job that didn't exist before could come in and replace the income that people had from insert white collar job.
so I guess I would disagree that it doesn't exist. Like I think like I disagree that essentially like play to earn is a viable replacement for people's jobs. I think what crypto gaming and maybe just like crypto, the way that it sort of shifts the paradigm away from publishers and advertisers and towards users and creators, I think that it will be able to enhance um, certain jobs that already exist, like content creation, gaming. But I don't think that it's going to replace a salary for most people. Even if it makes the distribution slightly wider, it's still going to be a skewed distribution. Like the top like gamers, the top content creators are still going to be the ones that accrue most of the value, and like average Joe Schmo who got replaced, like some paralegal who got replaced by AI, I don't think is going to make a career playing games unless they're insanely good at playing games.
I think that's true. You're absolutely right that the best players and biggest content creators are always going to amass the lion's share of the value that's created. But at least we're taking a step in the other direction, in the step in the direction of like decentralization and distribution of that value in a way that we haven't before. Because that's always been the case where the top five streamers, top five players make all the money. Maybe or make whatever, call it 95%. Maybe we get to a world now where they make 60% and 40% is distributed amongst the others, right? Like, I think that that's maybe one way to think about it is yes, it's not perfect, but at least it's going against that,
Yeah,
like
I
that
guess
direction.
I view it as supplemental to a basic income. And I guess like the way that I view basic income or why I think it will happen or be necessary is it's kind of this, right? If if companies all of a sudden aren't paying wages to people, then they're accruing way more profit and way more value. And so, should we continue to allow all of that to accrue to an increasingly small amount of people, or should some of that be sort of like redistributed to those that are impacted? Um, I mean, like personally, I think you kind of will need to redistribute it for social reasons as well as economic reasons. But that's like that's really the crux of it. It's if you go from if you go from like having profit of call it $1 billion with 10,000 employees, and all of a sudden you can replace 90% of your workforce with automation and your profits double. I mean, that's good for the shareholders and the remaining 1,000 employees, but that's really bad for everybody else. And like, it's only going to continue to concentrate wealth in a way that is probably like I'm not a communist or anything. I don't think like we need like total equity of wealth,
Trust me, bro, I'm not a communist.
but I do think there is a level of income inequality that is socially bad. And AI,
Totally.
it remains to be seen if this will actually happen, but I think AI is it's the greatest potential to create an extremely negative wealth distribution than we've had in a really long time.
Yeah, do not disagree there. I guess I hope that the distributed systems that we're betting our careers on really in crypto can help to balance the scales a little bit uh, in through innovation rather than needing maybe a government or central authority to step in and take care of things.
Yeah, I mean, ideally yes, but again, I guess like your mileage will vary. Something that I think about is in the U.S., healthcare is tied to employment, and if people don't have traditional careers anymore, like that, I think obviously creates a bunch of problems. Now, nationalized healthcare also has problems, but like that's a shift that could be necessary in a country like the United States simply based on how how employment or work changes over the next decade due to technology.
No doubt.
All right, man. Well, this was fun. I think, yeah, we're at a bit over 30 minutes. I think we could probably leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. Pleasure as always. I think you mentioned it earlier, but yeah, where can the homies find you if they want to chat more?
At X Coldplunge on Twitter, and I'm a Pixel Cat with a gold chain
Pimped out. I like
on the
it.
internet. Yep.
Um, yeah, I think that'll do us for this episode. If you like the pod, please subscribe. Also give me a follow on Twitter. I am at 0xbew, and the pond is at the pond WTF. We'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks everyone for listening, and bye bye.
Thanks. Peace.